Hello and welcome to the Family Business. Joe Castiglione Jr. alongside Isaac Stoops.
Yeah, we just had a chance to catch up with my Uncle Mark. He just started camp today, like a lot of other schools here in the country. Really appreciate him coming on, and let's go to that interview now.
We are now joined by the longest tenured SEC coach in his 12th year at Kentucky, Coach Mark Stoops. Coach, thanks for joining the show.
You got it. My pleasure. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Well, the family business, we got to start off with the family question. What was instilled in the Stoops household that led to all of you guys being successful as coaches?
I think it starts with my father for sure. I think, um, as opposed to our children, my boys, Isaac, Drake, the all the Stoops brothers, our own kids, they see the immense pressure that we're under and the way this game has changed. For us, for Bob, Mike, myself, my brother Ron, we had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with my father, who was a high school coach, and we saw it, I think, at its truest form. Just coaching football and just being a ball coach. And we were fortunate, to grow up in that environment. We grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. A lot's been written and said. You all probably have heard the stories coming out of there, but ultimately Youngstown was a great place, and my father was a high school coach, and we just grew up around it. And I think we came about it very authentically, and I think once we got into it, it was hard to do anything else.
Yeah, obviously, Grandpa Ron is a legend in Youngstown, and obviously, it probably started with him, and of course, Grandma. You can't forget about her. But
Yeah,
you guys,
that's
you
right.
you Uncle Mike and my dad all played for Coach Hayden Fry, who's also a legend in football. How did he contribute towards all of your guys' success? Because you not just played, but you coached under him too.
Yeah, I think he definitely played a big role, and I think your father and Mike and myself would all say our defensive coordinator Bill Brazier, had a heavy influence as well. But Coach Hayden Fry, you said it. He's a legend, and he's a guy that was very special. I think he was a guy that is you think back to those meetings and sitting there all the time. Hayden was a guy that always captured my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always liked listening to him, and it never got old for me. I just hung on every word he said, and I think that's a credit to him and the type of coach he is, and the type of man he was, and he's just a special guy. And so so that Hayden definitely played a big part. And I think the University of Iowa was, special to all of us. We were fortunate to play there in such a good program and under a guy like Hayden and Coach Brazier and all the rest of the coaches.
Brothers are always going to brag. They're competitive. They're going to talk a little mess, back and forth. Which one of you would you say had the best college playing career?
I think probably Mike. I would say probably Mike had the best career. Definitely Bob was a trailblazer. He kind of set the path for us all, and went out and his story is kind of incredible with the way he persevered. It's a great lesson, for people if they for another time in another place. But the way he persevered through some difficult times at Iowa early in his career when they really didn't win a lot of games. They were kind of didn't think much of him as a player, and then they made a coaching change, and Bob ended up really thriving and succeeding and becoming a captain, and the rest is history. And he kind of was a trailblazer for Mike and I. My oldest brother Ron, was a really good player himself, but he always wanted to stay at the high school ranks, and very happy. He never had to do the bouncing around that we did and coaching at all kind of different places. He was much like my father. His roots are in Youngstown. Raised a beautiful family. Very very happy doing his thing there. But for the rest of us, the playing at Iowa, I think it was a like I said mentioned, it was a hell of a time. It was a great ride, but I would have to say Mike. That's a long answer, but Mike was definitely a very good player.
Uh, The funniest I told Joe off air. One of the funny stories Grandma told was that someone in the stands at one of your guys' games was like, "Man, is this Stoops kid ever gonna graduate? Because you guys all wore number 41." And she was like, "Oh, I have 4 sons."
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, that's so true. I think, uh, yeah, Mike got switched. I don't think Mike really wanted to, but I think they promised maybe some highly recruited recruit to change his number and took number 2 off Mike, gave it to somebody else. So they used the excuse to
Oh
put him
yeah.
in Bob's number, but I think Mike would have had his own number if they would let him have it. But Mike ended up wearing 41, and then the timing was right. As soon as Mike left, I came in, and so obviously I had to inherit the number. And of
Yeah.
course, my boys wear it now too. My sons Will and Zach wear 41 for the most part. Will switched on me. He went to 2. He got big time on me. He had to go to a single digit. So
Single digit for show. Well,
Yeah.
now people would just say, "Hey,
yeah,
it was like a COVID
yeah,
senior who had 10
Yeah.
seasons of eligibility,
yeah,
a couple waivers here and there." You started
yeah,
your coaching career at Iowa and then high school and then Wyoming, but you coached on the 2001 staff, which is widely regarded as one of the best teams.
From Miami.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
Miami.
yeah.
Widely regarded as one of the best teams college football has ever seen. Coached Ed Reed, Sean Taylor. Just talk about early in your coaching career, starting to build through the ranks and making those moves from school to school.
Yeah, I think that obviously that team was huge, but I started working. My first job was at the University of South Florida, and he was with Jim Levitt, and Jim worked with Bob at Kansas State. Wanted to run the defense that they were running, and of course, I was young and new into the profession, and so it made sense, thankfully for Jim to hire me. And then I went and did a lot of training and learning under Bob because he was right up the road. I was in Tampa at South Florida, and we weren't even playing games yet. Man, I made $12,000 a year, and I lived in the dorm with Eric Wolford, who's now my offensive line coach. And so we definitely didn't get into this thing for money. I left a job. I was in the high school ranks. I was an athletic director of a school district, and I had a pretty good job for a young age, but I certainly missed football and wanted to get back into it, and I jumped into it at South Florida for the big 12,000 a year, and the perk was I got the room with Wolfie and live at and live in the dorm. But you know what? It was the greatest decision of my life. I never regretted it for 1 minute, and I spent 1 year at South Florida. Then I jumped quickly to Wyoming, and I coached 3 years at the University of Wyoming and just absolutely loved all those years. We really had some very good defensive backs and some special players at that time. And then our whole staff moved, and my head coach got the job, and we left and went to Houston for a quick year. I was a co-defensive coordinator there. And then I got offered a job with Larry Coker at Miami, and that kind of propelled my career from there. That was one heck of a time. I mean, story for you, Isaac. With Grandma, and she came down and looked at it, and I lived on the beach, and coached at Miami. We won every game. I lived on the beach. At that time I didn't have any kids or whatever. She just shook her head and said, this is not reality. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, it is. This is not the norm.
Yeah.
We didn't lose very much. I lived on the beach. I coached some guys I absolutely loved to this day. They were great players, very self-motivated. So that, to me, they were an easy group to coach. I loved it, and had a great experience coaching those guys. And that kind of propelled me, from there. I actually left there and went and coached with Uncle Mike when he was the head coach at Arizona, went and became his defensive coordinator. It was really tough to get me out of there, but not to go work with family and continue to grow and learn and have more responsibility. So I left there and went to Arizona.
Did did Coach Bob ever try to hire you at Oklahoma?
We talked about it day one, early on when he first got the job. But with Mike going there, and then with myself, there's just too much pressure, and we all understand that. I think that's very difficult. We kind of we're in it together, and when there's multiple, uh, to me, it just puts an awful lot more stress on people. And so, right, we did discuss it, but I'm like, and Bob, we were going back and forth, and I just said, hey man, I'm good. I am totally good. I was at Wyoming at the time. We were doing really well. My DBs were playing really well, and it just so happened a year later, or I guess a year later we went to Houston. Then a quick year, I was only there 10 months at Houston, I think, and then I went to Miami. And during all those years, it was really interesting because if you remember during that time, either the Hurricanes or the Sooners were playing in the national championship like every year, but we never matched up against each other. And so we played in a couple. Oklahoma played in a couple, but we never crossed over.
Well, yeah, and obviously, and now OU's going to the SEC. Same with Texas. I mean, it was already considered the best, most powerful conference in college football, and that obviously just adds to it. What would you say is like the biggest ingredient to building consistency in this conference? I mean, you're the
I,
12 years.
I've said this, and don't misconstrue it for advice, because anybody that's tried to bait me into it and ask me like, what advice can you give Brent Venables or anybody else? I don't need to do that. Brent knows
Yeah,
what he's doing, and he has he's won an awful lot of games, and he's one hell of a coach. But for myself, if you're asking me, I said it day one, and it holds true. It's a line of scrimmage, league. Like you have to be able to hold up at the line of scrimmage. Obviously, the great teams are very physical, very big, very long and athletic up front, but also have, some creatures outside that can hurt you. You know what I mean? That you have to match up one on one. So if you can
yeah,
be physical, if you could run the ball and be great at the line of scrimmage and also have the playmakers, then you're going to win a lot of games, and it's a pretty good recipe. And Oklahoma has always been that. They've always had that ingredient. And my boy Billy Bedenbow still there up front coaching the offensive line, and Brent being a defensive guy, and the toughness that he's instilling. I'm sure the Sooners are going to have great success, but there's no doubt they're going to have great success and sustained success like they've had. But it's most definitely difficult. There's no question when you play teams that are big, strong, and physical every week. The toll that it takes you mentally and physically is hard to describe. To be honest with you, it's challenging.
You touched on it a little bit. I mean, I think that recipe has been laid out, and I don't think it can be overstated. People always talk about the game's won in the trenches, but especially in the SEC when you got to hold up week after week
Yeah.
after. But you talked about a little bit. Coach Brent Venables, took over the team 2 years ago. He's been referred to as the other Stoops brother, or maybe like a step brother, or
Mm.
like a half brother. What qualities does he have, or what as a coach as you've seen that you stated, but how he will propel Oklahoma into the SEC with sustained success?
Yeah. Well, I didn't really know how to describe him at my SEC media days, kind of the same way. I didn't really want to infer that he was like a brother, but maybe a cousin or something, but he's very close to us. Let's put it that way. We all, I never worked directly with Brent, but obviously know him for an awful long time, ever since, the Kansas State days when he was playing, and Uncle Mike and Uncle, Bob were coaching him. And so anyway, we think the world of Brent. I think personally for the family, it's kind of nice because it's somebody we care about and know, because we're so used to rooting for the Sooners. And so, I'll continue to root for them every day. We're going to have to eventually play them, so that'll be an awkward situation for the family. But they better be with me, Isaac, because we know blood. We know how important it is. That it's our livelihood. But I think it'll be interesting for your dad. That's for sure. When eventually we have to play the Sooners. But anyway, with Brent, Jack, he's done a great job. He's had a fantastic career to this point, and you could see, him building that program and the sustained success he's going to have at Oklahoma. I don't think there's any doubt.
yeah. But both you alluded to it earlier, but both of you guys have such great football trees and networks around you too that makes it hard to fail. How has it been having my dad retired now, and he's kind of kicked back kind of out of the coaching game, at least college football? How has it been to have him as like a resource, to just go to whenever you have questions still in the coaching world?
It's always been really good. No matter how busy he was, or even when he was in the middle of it, he always had time. But I think we all also respect and know, have faith and confidence in each other that we'll figure it out. Because if you're not right here and with you, it's hard to determine exactly what's going on. But he's always been there, always will be. And I think what's nice for him to see his demeanor. You could probably attest to it better than anybody, but his demeanor, I think it's nice for a change to see him, have a little bit of time and not be constantly wound up, because he always handled it very well. But we all know when we're doing what we're doing, you're pretty tense, you know what I mean? And he always tried to play that off well and handle himself very well. But it's a very intense situation, and it's nice for him to see him kind of unwind a little bit, because he's always been wound tight anyway.
You're not lying.
It's in the Stoops blood a little bit. I actually worked under Coach Mike Stoops, of course, who's on your staff now. What is it like been having him on staff now for, I think this is third or fourth year having on? I mean, I love Coach Mike, I coached,
Yeah.
I worked under him,
Yeah.
think the world of him. But I always think about that Stoops person. I'm like, is this both bad cop, or who plays the good cop when you got to go? When Coach Mike is laying into somebody, you got to go talk him up.
Well, I think the years have finally, been good to Mike. They've calmed him down a little bit, so I think that's really good. I think, it's really good for me. It's special to have him on the staff. It's really good. He has so much experience. Listen, if you're in this game long enough, you're going to have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and everywhere in between, and there's so many coaches. I think I saw a stat recently. There was 55 coaches, maybe since I've started coaching in the SEC. Somebody told me there was 55. Don't take me for, I don't know if that's exactly right or what, but can you imagine the number of good coaches that have been in this league that have been fired? And so, if you're in this business long enough, you're going to go through the highs, you're going to go through the lows, and everywhere in between. And Mike has been there. Mike's done extremely well. I was with him. I mean, I was on his staff when we were one play away, and I always have a regret, because I was the defensive coordinator, and we had two opportunities to get off the field on fourth down. And if we get off the field, we send Arizona to the Rose Bowl. They've never been there in the history of their program. We were that close. And, we really had a good staff. I mean, heck, Billy Beanbo was with us. Seth was with us. Wolf was with us. Sonny Dykes was the offensive coordinator. When I was there, I was the defensive coordinator. But we had some good teams. And that's when that league was incredibly good. And so anyway, Mike has been, very successful as a head coach and a coordinator. And so for me, it's kind of nice to have that experience and to bounce things off him. And I also think Mike is very comfortable in his role. He just kind of wants to be, a soldier. He wants to help. He wants to give input where he can, coach the linebackers, put them in a great position, and be a team, be a part of the team, and be here for me and for our coordinator. And that's what he's doing. And I think he's very happy doing it. And I'm glad to have him.
Yeah, kind of off topic. One thing we talked about earlier was so you recruited me and Drake at Kentucky there for a little bit, and now Will is of age. He's going to be a senior. Last time I talked to him, he wasn't sure if he wanted to play ball, if he didn't. How has that been? Just recruiting high school football with him. Catching his games when you can. I mean, recruitment process, all that. Because being a coach's son can be challenging, and it's also really fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm gonna turn my light back on here.
I got the automatic lights.
Yeah, they always do. They're trying to save electricity.
Yeah.
Universities are trying to put more money in the NIL.
I thought we lost
electricity
them
bill.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Everybody's trying to save electricity. If they don't see me moving around for 10, 15 minutes, it turns off on me. So but it's really fun. First of all, it's great to go watch them play games, and any opportunity I have, I'm there watching them play, and so it's been really good. Just like anybody who plays sports, certainly anybody that plays football, again, you're going to have the ups and the downs, but it teaches you so much, and he's had a little bit of adversity, have a little bit of an injury already this year. He's got a little something going on, and you kind of feel for him when you get setbacks. You've been there, your brother's been there, it's like it's a tough game, and things are going to happen, but you have to persevere through it. So I'm grateful that he loves it, and that he's playing, and we'll see where he goes from there. What the next step is, whether he decides to play at the college level or not. We'll continue to help him, make that choice and make a proper choice. And he's thinking through it right now. And kind of like when I went and saw you and your brother, at that point, you guys were a little bit all over the place. You didn't know exactly where you wanted to go, what level, what you wanted to do. And he's kind of at that point right now.
Yeah, good thing he's got a lot of educated opinions, cousins, uncles, everybody alike to help him out.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely has a lot of people to help him.
Yeah.
Last question, Coach, because I know it's fall camp time. Season's right around the corner. Just about your team a little bit. You actually have one more Sooner connection. It's a little bit smaller, but transfer quarterback Brock Vandegrift was actually a one-time Oklahoma commit during his recruitment for about close to a year, I want to say, when Coach Lincoln was here. Talk about him. Talk about your team a little bit. Oklahoma fans will be tuned in. We won't play you this year, but Oklahoma fans will be tuned in. What can they expect when they turn on the TV and watch Kentucky this year?
Yeah, thanks. I also wasn't aware of that until right around media days that Brock was committed to Oklahoma for a while. But I watched him at Georgia, and obviously the times he was in there, they had a comfortable lead. But I loved just the way his operation. He's a guy he was coached extremely well at Georgia. What I liked about him, it was a complex offense, and we were very pro style, and we're tweaking what we're doing and trying to do some different things, but you knew he could handle it. He was very well coached. When he was in there, he processed things very fast. He went through his reads, and he has the arm talent. So I really like him. Obviously, like any player, certainly at the quarterback position, till they get in there and they have full command and they're in there, then you don't know exactly what you have. I like what I see. I really like the way he's practicing, the way he processes things, his arm strength, you name it. I like everything about him. But, we have a good team. We have a veteran defense. We have guys, I want to say up to 10 that have had multiple starts. So we have some depth on defense and some experience. Offensively, we have two wideouts that are played a lot of football for us. And Dane Key and Barry on Brown is a dynamic guy. He's an unbelievable kickoff return guy. He's got that high top end speed that you're looking for. We got a transfer in Jamori Macklin that's one hell of a player. So, we have a good football team. We have an unbelievably challenging schedule, so it's one day at a time, and we're right in the middle of it. Like you said, we started today. We'll get back out there tomorrow and get better. But I like this team. I like the way they're working, and we'll see where we're at here in a couple of weeks. We got to just take it day by day.
Yeah, I didn't realize you guys had started today, just like OU. So really appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us,
got
Coach.
it. Anything for you? I mean, I'm still mad you didn't come on the family vacation, though.
I'll get you back. I'll meet you at a game this year.
I mean, what's the deal? I mean, come on, we're down there. We're at the beach where you guys always hang out, and you don't even show up.
Where were you?
I don't know. I'll have to look back.
Exactly.
All right.
Oh, man. I knew you were gonna say it. I knew it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Good talking to you guys. Best of luck to you, both of you, and obviously the Sooners. And we'll catch up another time.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. Appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you.
Wow, he was really good. For everyone watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. There's a lot of things happening on the Sooner Scoop Studios on the YouTube page, so all that helps us help you. And we'll catch you next week. And remember to keep it in the family.